But if we go right into this one, for example, and you'll see it's almost like Braille. It's almost as if like the space is encouraging you to hold on to it. Like you don't want to navigate too far from the outer wall at any point. The scary thing is that you can never really recognize which wall is an outer wall and which wall is an inner wall. So I have a 3D model here that we're going to look at now. I've opened this in Unreal Engine 5. And as you can see here, the textures, the detail, it's all legit. But the sort of architectural arrangement of the rooms themselves is a little bit random. And that's why we're really not going to look at this from this sort of abstract 3D bird's eye aerial point of view, because I just don't think that does the Backrooms justice, architecturally speaking. We will draw over this eventually and use it to sort of compare it against the actual in-person experience of exploring the Backrooms, and then maybe we can contrast and compare. But I just wanted to sort of illustrate the extent of the model that we have here to work with before we begin. So let's get into the model and have a little look around. We've got a camera and a scene set up inside this model, and this model was purchased off of the Unreal Marketplace, so it already exists, and it's just a series of really high quality architectural components, and I've just sort of played around with them and created a series of little clusters to sort of scale out the idea of the backroom space. The sort of demo begins in a bit more of an open space, and then this open space flows into a series of smaller interconnected spaces that are all categorized by the same interior lining throughout. So the Backrooms is very relentless in its dedication to the same type of wallpaper, the same type of artificial lighting, and most notably the ceiling grid. The ceiling grid is important because to me it gives the user a scale of sorts. It almost places them physically in the space, and what you will have noticed by now is that the scale of the space itself is off. It is not accurate. And then you'll also notice here that some of the floor details have an architrave and a skirting, and some do not. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more now in just a second. So we're in gameplay mode now, and we're going to start slowly exploring the space. And the thing about the Backrooms is, that you'll notice straight away, is it's incredibly easy to get lost. And that's why you need markers. So for this video, I've actually created a marker for us we can use, and you should be able to see him now. It's my boy, Rem. So we just have this cutout of Rem that we're going to use here to keep us sort of grounded in the space. So Rem's just going to keep us right. So he's just hanging out there in the Backrooms. And I actually think Rem would be a big fan of this sort of liminal environment as the author of Junk Space himself. So anyway, back to the Backrooms themselves. What you'll notice here is that I think the detail in the environment is what kind of gives it this realistic creepiness. I've talked about the texture on the walls already, but if we go right into this one, for example, and you'll see it's almost like Braille. It's almost as if like the space is encouraging you to hold on to it. Like you don't want to navigate too far from the outer wall at any point. The scary thing is that you can never really recognize which wall is an outer wall and which wall is an inner wall. You know, you never know when you're sort of encompassing the edge of a space. And what that means to me is that I never like to venture too deep into the plan itself. I always want to sort of somehow be close to one of the walls at all times, almost as if you're holding on for your own safety. And I think that's what this environment does so well, architecturally speaking, is that it almost invokes this feeling of desperation for you to find some sort of landmark within it to keep you grounded. And in this video, Rem Koolhaas is my landmark and he keeps me grounded. He's my sort of totem of sorts. But the space has been designed almost as this scaleless architectural entity by which you are always lost at all times. So let's get back to Rem here now. Okay, so we're back with Rem. We found Rem, so we're not lost. We know where we are. And now we're going to use Rem just as a little navigational device for the next part of the video, where I'm going to start mapping out the space in plan. And to do that, I'm going to just set up a little vantage point here around the corner, somewhere that seems kind of interesting. I think I'm going to look this direction. I think I'm going to study this viewpoint, and I'm going to study this viewpoint. And now I'm going to zoom right out, and I'm going to grab a quick little sketch of the plan view that you should be seeing now on your screen. So this is just a little quick sketch over part plan of the space that we're standing in. Really what I'm trying to do with this plan is to illustrate how the room and the space actually works. So we can actually understand this part of the Backrooms model by basically dissolving all of the rooms, or let's say adding all of the rooms up into one total room, which in many ways that is what the model is. Like the Backrooms is arguably just a back room. It's one infinite space that flows together through different openings and doorways and walls and windows without there ever being any actual distinction between any individual room. But you could also break this up further into individual spaces within the spaces. That's what we're looking at right here. So now that we've sort of established that the Backrooms is or is not a back room, we need to understand how these rooms work and the way in which the architecture of the Backrooms is used to elicit fear. So if we just take this space again here and we just plop ourselves down here, X marks the spot, and this is where we're standing at the moment. And as a reference, we have Rem standing behind us that we were just looking at. And if we just look at where we're standing right now and we just outline our viewpoint, what you'll notice here is that you can actually read only a select few surfaces inside the model, and I've highlighted those in red. And if we just take those surfaces and project them into a space within itself, you'll see that all that is actually visible from this viewpoint is this strange splay looking part of the plan. And the reason that I'm highlighting this, I'm going to explain now, is that when we switch up the vantage point and look from right to left, and we carry this out again, you'll see again we're highlighting the surfaces that are visible. We're drawing displays to understand what can actually be perceived within the space. And then when we layer them on top of one another, you'll notice this strange fragmented splayed plan arrangement. And this is important for a number of reasons. I'm going to go through it now. So from this specific point of view, I would argue that you can count up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different individual spaces that are visible from this one position. And that makes for a very interesting plan. So if you're standing in this place and you can see 9 different rooms from your position, that means that someone in any of these 9 positions can equally see you without you knowing about it. And to me, that is the architectural horror of the Backrooms. The idea of prospect versus aspect. For every one position you can see, there's arguably 7 to 9 different positions that someone can see you. And that is what unsettles individuals within the Backrooms. The idea that you are being watched at all times and you can never ever grasp a bearing of your surroundings to understand who might be watching you, from where, and why.